Good evening and welcome to the Jungle Gyms podcast. Today is Saturday, the 20th of November, and we're just after finished watching the Celtic and St Johnston game. That was the semi final in the Premier Sports Cup. Joined by McGinty. How you doing, pal?
Not too bad, Gavin. How you doing yourself?
Not bad, not bad. Been under the weather this week. Been having I wouldn't say the man flu, but I've certainly had the cold, and we live in suspicious times, so I've been kind of reluctant to leave the house in case like people point the finger at me and say, "Get yourself a COVID test, get the fuck away from me,"
Aye.
that sort of thing.
It's the weird thing about this time of year. It happened last year as well. Naturally the flu and the cold and all the rest that's kicking around. So any sneeze, cough, or splutter, people are questioning, "What have you got? Are we riddled?" No, we've just got seasonal flu.
I know, I know. I really do fancy a beer as well, but I'm on the water tonight. What is that? Is that Iron Brew for you?
No, it's a little Estrella dam.
All right, very nice, very nice.
Just a small one. Just one to tickle the taste buds.
Is that a Barcelona beer?
It is, yes. Hence the
Would you ever
unique of it.
would you ever drink a beer from Madrid? Are you too principled for that?
No, I'm not that principled. Where's Sam McGuill from, actually? I don't think that's from Madrid, but that's also nice. But no, I'm not that principled.
I do like San
I,
Miguel.
I
I've kind
just,
of I've taken
yeah,
to that this year. Aye,
yeah.
and bottled,
The
bottled
out of the
rather than
can is
in a
quite
tin.
nice.
Oh, the bottled
Oh,
ones,
rather way.
farm.
I've had it
Oh,
out of tin.
aye,
Mm.
aye. Try it in the bottled,
But it
mate.
has to be ice cold.
Right,
Either way, it has to be ice cold.
very true, very true. I've got some Corona sitting outside in the shed. That's even better than a cold fridge. You know that will be like Baltic out there. So I might grab a
Oh
couple after this
yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
It is a
That
Saturday
that
night
that
after all.
might be the thing. As a weekend, aye. We should enjoy ourselves because we have stuff to enjoy and celebrate.
Indeed, indeed. Aye, so we beat St Johnstone 1-0. Not the most memorable of games, not the most entertaining of games, but we got through it in the end, and we're now through to the final. It was a tough game overall. St Johnstone, obviously, they're no mugs. They won two domestic cups last season, and they certainly showed what they're made of tonight. I think they were kind of I think a lot of just like them tonight. I think a lot of teams this season domestically they've been trying to out muscle us physicality wise, and obviously try to kind of capitalise from any potential mistakes that we make. I think that's the collective idea of how best to beat Celtic this season. But we never really made any mistakes. Maybe once by Joe Hart, which was a kind of heart and mouth moment in the first half. But aye, overall we got through it. What was your overall feelings of the game before we kind of break it down to the nitty gritty, mate?
Overall, I felt fairly confident throughout the game. There was no point that I felt that we were vulnerable. I didn't feel like we were going to concede. I didn't feel like we were going to lose the game. And overall, obviously, we get the 1-0 win. So, yeah, I felt quietly confident, but never wowed by the occasion.
Mm. And by the way, before we go any further, I always knew that you were a big fan of Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, but your background is taking it a little bit too far, don't you think?
Not my choosing. We are in process of changing wallpapers and background stuff. So we'll get that fixed at some point.
I wonder if that's been provoked by recent events that you're going to do a new
A little
coat of paint.
bit.
Right.
It's
Anyway,
actually more of a deeper red, but it's just the lighting in here.
sure it is. Sure it is, pal.
It is.
Right. So before we kind of go into the actual game, there was some nice tributes to Betty Auld. That was noticeable. They had the black armbands, and Celtic were on the shorts for each player. They had the number 10 displayed. I actually kind of like that. Going back to no, I looked better before, mate. You look really in the dark now. Putting me
Bring
off.
some
Putting me
news.
off. Aye, so everybody had the number 10 on their Celtic shorts today. That was a really nice touch. And of course, on the 67th minute, the Celtic fans had their phone lights out, and the Lisbon song was sang very enthusiastically. And of course, there was the banner of Betty Auld. It was basically a banner of his face. However, what made it rather eerie for me was that some people let off red flares, and Just it was kind of stark contrast between the red flares and Bertie's smiling face. It made him look rather evil, which is certainly not the case, not befitting of the man. But it was a really nice tribute, mate.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a nice tribute. I'm not one who overly cares for the pyros or overly is overly bothered by them, sort of thing. But yeah, I did notice and acknowledge the flares kind of at the bottom of his face. Kind of did give it an almost dangerous, creepy, eerie kind of look and feel to it. Not a kind of casual celebration. I'm getting too deep. It was fine. The overall tifo was absolutely fine, and I saw the tifo before the game, the big green and white and the Betty lettering right across the side stand was absolutely fantastic by the guys who set that up. Both
Mm.
at the start of the game, the 67th minute one, and even their rendition of the Celtic song at the 10-minute mark. All of it was absolutely superb. You had everything perfectly throughout. It was well supported by all the crowds, and it was brilliant to see.
Totally. We should be grateful that we've got sections of Celtic support who do these things.
Mm,
I'm grateful for that, and
definitely.
it was really nice, really nice. But anyway, getting into the actual game. So as I said before, St Johnstone no mugs. They've already claimed two domestic trophies last season, and they were hoping to get into the final and defend their crown. Um, at the moment, I think in the league they're sitting in position ninth, which is quite surprising. They really did give us a strong test tonight. I don't think they're really blessed with quality, but they were chock full of hard work tonight. They were pressing us down whenever we were trying to pass it about in defence. Um, they really worked hard for their teammates tonight, and we really had to win to earn the result. Sorry, to earn the right to play. That's what I mean to say. But let's break it down with the lineup for Celtic. So no real surprise with who started. Hart and goals. At the back, we've got Josip Juranovic, Welsh, Cameron Carter-Vickers, and Ralston. Obviously, Starfelt is still out injured with his hamstring, so Welsh deputises again, and I thought he did. I thought he was fairly comfortable tonight. In midfield, you've got McGregor, you've got Beaton and Turnbull, and of course Rogic, same as Starfelt, out with a hamstring injury. He's not yet back, but Beaton deputising for him in the midfield. And then up front, you've got Kyogo, Jota, and Abada. No surprises there. Quite straightforward there. You agree with that point?
Yeah, I think everybody would have expected that over the last kind of few weeks, especially with the two injuries still being out. I kind of hope to have seen one of them at least back. I believe that they were not meant to, but I believe the time scale was after the international break. But yeah, as expected, no surprises, and I think that's something that's kind of done as well the last kind of month or two is just keeping that steady lineup as best we can.
I think a few people had hoped by this point at the end of the international break that out of Christopher Julian, Starfelt, or Rogic, that we would have had maybe one, maybe two of them back. But we're you don't want to rush them in. What we saw that would be Greg Taylor when we rushed him back from injury, and now he was back out again with that elbow flaring up once more. So yeah, we're taking our time getting them back in, and and fair enough. You don't want to rush it. So, McGinty, I hope that the skills that we've picked up doing the podcasting over the past 2.5 months are really going to come to the fruition, because that first half was rather gash to watch. So let's try and flesh out as much as possible. Let's try and make this as entertaining as we can. The first half, what can you take away from it? Um, as I said, they were really pressing us. They were making us work for everything. There wasn't by half time, we never had one shot on target. I think we'd had about maybe a handful of shots, but nothing on target. It was difficult. What was your overall thoughts on the first half?
Quietly confident is kind of how I felt going through that first half. Um, Something that's kind of been on my mind for a while with a lot of the games, and I've been happy with the run that we've been on, but is that we don't seem to have the urgency and the tempo and the kind of quick drive that we kind of thought we were getting used to at points at the start of the season. And I feel like we just constantly lack that until later on in the game, and that's kind of where you felt during the first half we weren't quite doing enough to create the goal scoring opportunity. but the steady formation, the steady lineup is building that confidence at the back as well, where I wasn't worried about conceding at all. So as much as we
Mm.
didn't do enough up front, I was not concerned at the back. So it was almost a quiet confidence. I know the goal will come eventually.
Aye, I was hoping for that. See the pitch at Hampden. Obviously, it's bigger, I think, than what we play at Parkhead. I think that was to our advantage. Of course, we play with Jota and Abada. They were really making use of the width. They were hugging the touchline, and St Johnston. Obviously, they're going to play compact to an extent. They're not certainly not as compact as Livingston. They're a wee bit more open than that. Um, Hence, by the fact that they were pressing down our centre backs whenever we had the ball back there. But what was my point? Yeah. So the width, the size of the park, I think that was to our advantage. I think over the course of the 90 minutes, it probably tired them out a little bit more, chasing us down. Um, and Jota, certainly in the first half and over the course of the 90, he had a bit of a battle on his hands when he was up against that fullback who was very dogged, very determined. Jota was man of the match. Um, he made a lot of runs down at the left flank. I think at a few times he was getting frustrated because he was going on the outside of his man, trying to get to the byline and cross it in. A few times he struggled with that, and a few shoulder challenges, and he was going down on his knees and complaining to the referee. And that was like music to the ears of the defender who was up against, because he was getting frustrated. He wasn't really having much success. However, there was at one point when he did check back against that fullback, and he produced that moment of skill, that Rabona. That was beautiful, wasn't it? It would
Yeah.
have been fitting if it was finished by a goal.
Those things always would be, but yeah, he deserved his man of the match, Jar. But I think purely because he was the only real outlet for me. Abada, he let me down a little bit. Not any fault to his own. We all know he's a younger lad, and we all know he can't play every single game. He's still learning the ropes as such. So I'll be excited to see Forrest take over a little bit for a few games, get his run of games now, try and give Abada that bit of rest and kind of ease him back in because he's losing that kind of that drive in that right hand side. So I felt a lot of the play went down the left with Jota. So I'm not surprised he gets his man of the match award because everything almost went down that way. So you saw the skills that Jota can bring to the game, which, as you say, with the Rabona.
Totally. I agree with you about Abada. He's 20 years old. It's natural, especially for a winger, that type of position. You're going to be hot and cold. But he's overall been doing fairly well. Excited that the Forest is coming back, as we'll get on to when we discuss
Yeah.
the second half. Mate, a couple of times though, I know it's part and parcel. It's symptomatic of the Ange way, passing it out from the back. We saw a lot of that again today. Try to work your way out of that press, because it was quite difficult at times to beat the press of St Johnstone in our third of the pitch. But at one point, the ball came to Hart. I think it was Welsh who played it back to Hart, and at that point it was comfortable. Hart let it trickle past across the goal, and he was just sizing up to see who he was going to pass to. But he procrastinated. He delayed it for far too long. And then he was chased down. I think it might have been by Chris Kane, that the Baldy centre forward for St Johnstone. But Hart, like at that point, he tried to clear it. It hit off the St Johnson guy who was sliding in, and it went out for a goal kick. But that easily could have went into our goal, just rebounded off us, and that was the type of thing that they were probably looking for to exploit our our potential mistakes. Um, that could easily have went in the back of the net for Celtic. That kind of gives me the fear at times. But do we accept it? It's just the Ange way, or can we kind of smarten up at times with that?
I think we can definitely smarten up with it. It is the Ange way to try and play out from the back a little bit to start with the. I know he's quite far back into his box, but getting your goalkeeper to act like an outfield player at times, playing with the ball at his feet, and Hart is capable of doing that. We know he is. He's done it already for us. But that moment there, that I don't think is a fault of the Ange system. I think that's just a momentarily lapse of concentration for the player.
Mhm.
Maybe the manager should somehow indicate a bit more kind of if in doubt, kick it out sort of thing, or just punch it up the park. We can be a little bit prone. I feel that we do. Even the defenders sit on the ball just that little moment too long. Which, if we remember when Ange came in and we had that mic'd up kind of training session, if we all remember what Ange was saying, it was quite a lot was, get the ball one touch, move it forward. We don't want to be sitting on the ball too long, and it almost feels like that's what kind of Hart was doing in that moment. So I don't think it was a an Ange thing in the sense of the setup that he wants to play per se, but maybe just the moments of Hart just being a bit lackadaisical. It happened not quite because of Hart. I think this one was McCarthy's issue, where later on in the second half, when McCarthy gets the ball from Hart, passes it back to Beaton, but he's not looked to see what else is happening on the pitch. It's one of those
Aye.
moments where the players are just not quite switched on for whatever reason in that moment.
Yeah, yeah, communication is really, really important because you need to be
Yeah,
aware of the runners. Are you like you might be in a position to receive the ball, but within 1 second you might have a St Johnston player up your arse. You know what I mean? You need to be careful about that. So communication, keep looking around you and stuff like that. But yeah, we need to kind of. I know we never conceded from that, but we need to be streetwise. Aye, so
that's a good point there, Gavin. That's why I was saying earlier on that I was quietly confident because the back line this season, especially since Joe Hart's came in and we've had this run of consistent lineups, we're so much more confident in the back line now. I know what you say when it puts the fear when you see it, but if I saw that last season, I would have been raging and screaming at the TV about it. I would have been heart and mouth sort of thing, kind of like what the hell's going on here. But when it
mhm,
happened tonight, it was almost like okay, it happened, get on with it. There was no real kind of like fear moment, just kind of like oh, that's it, done. So there's
totally,
that kind of
totally.
building of confidence, I think.
And I know it was a boring first half, but if we just kind of try and mop it up and move on to half time, we go in at nothing each. Do you think that was more because of the kind of the tempo from Celtic wasn't good enough? Do you think maybe we're missing Rogic in the centre because we're maybe over reliant on our wide men, most especially Jota, as you alluded to? So yeah, or was it simply St Johnstone playing very very well to their game plan?
Without being too on the fence, a bit of both. You got to give St Johnston a lot of respect. They won both cups last season. They gave us a hard game earlier in the league as well. They are a very well organised team, and they know how to press when they can, and they know how to counter when they can. Um, you've got to give them some credit for nullifying what we were trying to do, but at the same time, we weren't doing enough to insist on the urgency and the tempo. So there's a little bit of a both thing, which I think as we get into the second half, we'll start to see we kind of brought that into the game a little
Hmm.
bit.
Hmm. Totally. Yeah, I think. Yeah, well, fuck it. Let's move on to the second half. Let's not drag that out any further. Right, second half. I think we managed to awake ourselves from that kind of lull that was creeping in during the first half. I think we became a wee bit more assertive, a wee bit more direct with our passing. I think that the players knew that. I don't know if Ange had told them, "Look, guys, you're 45 minutes away from a cup final. Just fucking get the head down." Up the ante. I think we did that. Certainly in the opening 5-10 minutes of the second half, I looked as if we played with a renewed determination about us. Um, and St Johnstone were kind of just doing their same old, being more organised. Um, and then the goal came. The goal came in the 73rd minute. So Abada, who was maybe labouring or just being not that successful, he came off, and James Forrest came on. Absolutely brilliant to see the guy come on. So let's just kind of take a moment because to recognise that he's hardly played much football in the last 12 months, mate. How excited were you sorry when he came on?
Yeah, really excited. He offered a bit more kind of running at their defence than what Abada was able to do today, which Abada's usually quite good at that anyway, as we said earlier. He kind of has his moments and he needs to be to well managed. But Forrest gave us that drive forward. He was willing to face up the defenders and put them in the back foot. And I think once you started seeing that, you saw them being pressurised, the ball going back to their keeper. And if you don't mind me going on to the goal at this point, that came from the back press, the press going on them. The keeper punts the ball out, which is capitalised by Jota, who's again almost rejuvenated in the second half with more pressing and anticipation. He gets on the end of the ball, breaks it down, and obviously, I've totally forgot how the goal scored. Fill me in, Gavin.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so it was Kyogo who was actually pressurising their keeper, the bearded one, and he kind of shanks it out when he tries to make his clearance. Jota goes up, he wins it in the air against a defender, and at that point he gets the ball on the deck and he just powers into their box, slightly on the left hand side of their box, but he gets in and he showed some amount of determination. And again, he was right up against that fullback had been um, giving him a very very solid opposition for the full game. But as I said, he powers into the box, a lot of determination, and he whips in across kind of about like midriff height. And at that point, they try and clear it. One of their defenders tries to clear it, but it's not an effective clearance. The ball kind of drops fortuitously for James Forrest. And at that point, he hits it on the half volley, bang into the net, and that was only like just a few minutes that he was on the pitch up until that goal. It was just like it was like fate that he was going to score, and again, obviously talking about the goal, but by the fact that him coming on, he provides that double threat because he can go on the outside or the inside. He's
Yeah.
more than comfortable doing either way, and that opens up a whole new dynamic to our play. But a fantastic goal, great from Jota, and great that Forrest, with his experience, is in the right place at the right time. Aye.
Did you notice that, as I was saying earlier, when we had the first few games of the season where we got those high scoring games, the way we were pressing the tempo and the urgency, we were so exciting to watch the front three moving in almost unison and attacking at the same time. So if somebody was taking one shot from the right or the left, Kyle goes there to follow up in the middle, right place, right time. It was almost similar again. Jota coming down just off centre to the left, but Kyogo was running through the middle and Forrest was running on the right hand side. They were coming quite tight and quite narrow into the middle, but they were driving forward at the same time, giving each other that support. I think Tony Ralston was actually just behind Forrest as well, so you end up having four people in that attacking kind of counter attack and just pushing right up. As soon as we start doing that, things get so much more exciting. We get the goal out of it. You look at, I think for the next kind of 15-10 minutes after that, you had Callum McGregor kind of supporting just on the left side of the opponent's 18-yard line, and he was getting into some good positions, playing some 1-2 passing with Jota and I think McCarthy going floating out to the left, and I managed to get a few kind of crosses in as well. They weren't really coming to anything, but the danger and the urgency was kind of creeping into our play, which was really good to see coming into the later half of the second half.
hmm the next flashpoint was that fucking challenge for Sean Rooney on our boy Welsh.
Yeah,
So it was an aerial ball. Both of them went up for it, but although Welsh, for me, he jumped it straight up, whereas with Rooney, he kind of came at it from a run and jump from an angle, and the elbow was clear to see. It wasn't just an innocuous elbow; it was a proper Street Fighter elbow that Welsh took on the chops. It looked a bloody painful one. So my question is, how did he only get a yellow card and not a red? But I was fully expecting to see Welsh wearing an ice pack on his face by the end of the game, or a good sirloin steak or something like that slapped over his mug. It was a horrible, horrible challenge, and when you looked at it, it was bad enough in real time, but whenever you saw it in the replay, it just got worse and worse, mate. Is it one of those ones where the ref checks him for a yellow, but if you had VAR, then it wouldn't be an honest mistake? It was a fucking horrible challenge, man.
I think if you had VAR, yeah, it's a red card. I'm going to put it out there and say that I don't think Rooney meant it in such a way. Um, I know of Rooney through family members, and I wouldn't think he would be that way inclined at all.
So you do.
But but it's one of those ones where when you see it, especially in the replays, it's a red card straight away. The fact that Welsh has to go off because of it, it tells you what it was. I'm not going to say it was Miles or anything. I don't believe for a second it is, but it still is, and everybody deserves of a red card.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. But in all honesty, in the replay, I never saw anything like he looked at him before he went for it. So yeah, just to kind of clear that up, I don't think it was intentional. However, a red card will always be given whenever it's that bad. So intent doesn't have to come into it.
Yeah.
For me, it was a red card just because of how dangerous it was. But anyway, Welsh gets taken out of the game by that at that point, and he's replaced by McCarthy. So McCarthy comes on into midfield, and then Beaton slots into centre back to play alongside Cameron Carter Vickers, and we managed to see out the game. There was not many major flashpoints after that. I remember at one point Forrest again on the right wing, he cut in inside, and he passed the ball. Kyogo made one unselfish run to drag a few defenders away, and Forrest slotted in Jota. Jota again inside the box on the left hand side. Um, he manages to check one sliding challenge, and then as you think he's about to pull the trigger at that point, a last ditch challenge comes in and he blocks his shot, and I went out for a goal kick. Sorry, went out for a corner kick for Celtic. That was a really good move from Celtic, and I thought Jota's performance, he did kind of deserve that goal, and I was kind of gutted that the defence were that dogged for St Johnston, but it was totally characteristic of how they played today. They didn't give us an inch. We had to fight for everything, and although we might be disappointed, we only came away with a 1-0 result. There wasn't going to be that many goals in this game. We had to fight for everything, and Jota, as I said, Jota will get man of the match. But it was a really, really good chance for Celtic. But at the end of the day, they really put their bodies on the line to kind of block their goal. Aye, so a difficult game, but that's us. We're now through to the final. It was going to be on December the 19th. But to kind of go over the possession or the stats in general for the game, possession we had 79 in our favour to their 21.
Wow.
Do you think that's reflective, or are you quite surprised at that one?
I'm actually surprised it's that high. Definitely thought we had the vast majority of possession, but when you consider how organised St Johnstone are as a team, and they did counter attack us a few times, and they did nullify our own kind of tempo and stuff. It's quite surprising that it was that high. You know, 4/5 of the game was ours, which is quite surprising.
Aye, very true. Shots, 16 for us, 7 for them. But again, whenever I said it at half time, we never had a shot on target. So overall, they had 2 shots on target. We had 3 shots on target. So it does show that even though we had the more than a fair share of the possession, for clear cut chances, it was few and far between. Corners, we had 9 to their 0. That one surprised me.
Must have got about half of them just in the last 5 minutes or so. There seemed to be a flurry of corners.
Aye, aye. I don't remember many times where we had our like centre backs up in their box. But again,
Carter Vickers had a good header at one point. I remember that. Um, not too much of a flashpoint, mind you, but I remember Carter Vickers having a heady effort on goal.
by the way, I want to kind of shout out Cameron Carter Vickers' performance tonight. I think on the last podcast I was talking about unsung heroes, and I think that without Cameron Carter Vickers, without his performances this season, we wouldn't be where we are right now. Namely, only 4 points behind Rangers. I think he's been colossus at the back. I think without Starfelt, Starfelt had a bit of a shaky start, and he's kind of grew into it since then. But Cameron Carter Vickers has been a constant. He's been reliable. He's been a rock. He's been a calming influence. Um, I can't overstate how much I appreciate what he's brought to the club so far and these first few months in his debut season. But
Definitely.
anyway, I for the rest of the stats, we had 3 yellows compared to their 6. And then if you throw in the yellow that their manager got, then that would be 7 in total. I think in the second half, especially near the end, whenever they realised that they were really going to have to work for it to get an equaliser to take it into extra time, then the game became even more physical, which is saying something. Aye, so 6 yellow cards for them.
Yeah, I think we saw it earlier on in the league game when we won 2-0. They are an organised team. They are counter pressing, but they do look to disrupt the game, and definitely saw that as the second half kind of came to a close. As you say, we quite a few yellow cards coming their way, potentially a red one for Rooney, obviously as well. But yeah, overall, I think the game we deserved to win it. We were never really troubled as much as they had some hairy moments with Hart and McCarthy. We we never really looked like we were going to concede a goal. I don't think we did anyway. We didn't look like we were going to score 3, 4, 5 ourselves, but I think we deserved the win overall on the piece.
Yeah. So kind of wrapping up the actual game itself. Obviously, Jota got man of the match. For me, Cameron Carter-Vickers was very, very important today, because near the end in the second half they were throwing in a lot of aerial balls to our defence that we had to head out. I wouldn't say it was back to the walls as such, but Cameron Carter-Vickers for me was very important. Anyone else though who stood out for you? What about Beaton? What was your thoughts on his game overall?
Not unimpressed. I don't think I was unimpressed with anybody. I think everybody generally had a fair to good game. But
Kyogo was
guys like
quiet, wasn't he?
Kyogo's quiet, Abada was quiet. Turnbull is he's continuously showing that he doesn't have pace and isn't able to play the number 10 for me. And then bringing guys like Beaton in and seeing him going into the back when McCarthy comes on, I think those two specifically, they're not bad players. I don't mean this in too much of a negativity, but they do slow the game down too much for us. I think we could do with that urgency and tempo coming through the midfield. I know he's not everybody's cup of tea right now, but I would like to see something happen and we Sorrow. I think he can play the defensive role a little bit to help support McGregor, but also give us a bit of tenacity when he's turning the defense into attack. He's a bit kind of hairy at times. He's a bit kind of like, oh, heart and mouth, but
He's certainly tenacious.
there's something else there maybe to work on. Yeah.
See, talking about Turnbull, after what we've just watched Scotland get through to the playoffs for the World Cup, see with Turnbull, I don't think there's any way for him to force his way into the midfield of Scotland, and I think that's quite telling of his performances for Celtic. That surely there's room for improvement. He's a young man. He's a tall guy. You know what I mean? He's got good technical ability. But if you look at the Scotland midfield, and I'm not trying to digress too much, but you've got Billy Gilmore, you've got John McGinn, and you've got Callum McGregor. Surely he can learn from those three and ahead of him. Just not even to force his way into the Scotland midfield, but to even just do better in his club career for Celtic, because he is a wee bit hot and cold. Sometimes he can go a little bit missing. We need to see more from him. If we're going to win the league, if we're going to take it away for Rangers, then he needs to come to the fore, and he can't be as inconsistent as what he has been so far.
Definitely 100% agree, especially when it comes to the kind of three that you mentioned for Scotland. It is definitely 100% those three that he needs to learn from, and those three that he needs to kind of better at times. So if he's not able to muscle them out, then I know Paddy's put me well off my throat flow here. How you doing,
Yeah.
Paddy, son?
So, Paddy, can you hear us?
I can't do what's happening.
Right, I think Paddy's been out for a beer and a curry tonight.
And do you know what? I still managed to watch the game, mate.
Did you?
Yeah, the good lady wasn't happy that I had the phone on the table with the game on.
Yeah, sometimes
That's
things are
just
needed like that.
for me. That's good table manners.
Paddy right at the end of it.
Saving the best for last.
Right. Okay. So
that was a great result tonight. Fantastic result. Do you know what? It was quite hard for us to break the team down, but Anne's ball was great tonight. And as much as St Johnston countered us with really, really good defending, we done everything in our arsenal that we could to go and get that goal. And it was great to see wee Jamesy getting back on the score sheet. He's been such an important player for us over the years. And I know he comes in for a lot of slack and a lot of stick. And I know he doesn't really get any love off a good section of the support. But that the night just shows you how important he is to our squad. And we said at the start, it was always going to be good when he gets back into form and gets back into fitness and gets back into the team. And the night just showed you kind of what you were missing with wee Jamesy Forrest. You're missing him popping up with a goal. You're missing him popping up his influence. And aye, fantastic, great, excellent,
100%. What type of curry was it you had for the night?
What's that?
What type of curry did you go for the night?
Well, I certainly never had any orange duck or anything like that. It was no, I had a nice lamb boona, mate. It was great.
Nice one. Aye. McGinty, sorry, I cut you off. What were you saying?
No, I was just going to say for Paddy's summary there, I think that pretty much sums up everything that we've said in the last kind of 35 minutes as well. It was a good win. It's great to see James Forrest come back, and we played with confidence in ourselves at the back and in the middle, and the goal eventually came. We deserved the win. We definitely did.
Totally a hard fought one, and we're through to the final, as Paddy said. The 19th of December, so tomorrow you've got Hibs and Rangers facing off. I think it's 3:15, unless I'm mistaken, facing off at Hampden Park, and it'll be very exciting. I think for us to get this first bit of silverware so early on in the season before Christmas, like, don't get me wrong, if we don't do it, if we lose in the final, it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. The league is the bread and butter, but it'll be great for the players' confidence. Be great for Ange as well. I think it could be a massive catapult to us winning the league potentially if we were to win it. Would you agree in that, Paddy?
Well, you always want to get the kind of first big blow in, don't you? And the Premier Sports Cup, or the League Cup as we kind of know it, is the if we can go and win that, then we can set down a marker. Obviously, with that being in December, the chances are that it's either going to be, well, obviously the chances are going to be it's Hibs or Rangers. So if Rangers go through and we can win that cup against them, then that'll be your first victory against them in God knows how long, over a year anyway. If we can win that before December, and then we obviously play them on the 3rd of January, 2nd of January at Celtic Park, then hopefully we can go and stamp even more dominance, which it's a big it's a monumental kind of a victory if you want.
Aye.
As I say, you can go and stamp your dominance. You can go and kind of show your power. You can show where you've exerted yourself for being the absolute laughing stock of last season to the kind of swinging dicks of this season.
Totally, and I know that I'm probably
they've obviously lost their manager, and they've replaced him with a fucking Diddy so far. So if we can go in and show that we're the new power horses of Scottish football under Ange, which I'm sure that we are, which I'm really positive they are, then it's going to be a nice swing for the season.
Totally. And just to kind of finish up on that point, I know that it's you don't want to get ahead of yourself, but if we were to play Rangers in the final and beat them, that'll be a massive psychological blow to the new structure that they've got. The players might be doubting themselves, the fans might be doubting the team. I would love for that to happen. And as you said, it's been long overdue. The last time we beat Rangers is I don't like thinking about it. But so kind of moving on and upwards. The next game we're away to Bayer Leverkusen. That's going to be Thursday, the 25th of November, at an awkward time of 5:45. So beware of that. Try to finish up work early, etc. And then the following weekend, we've got Aberdeen at home. So the return of Scott Brown, and that'll be Sunday, the 28th of November at 3:00 in the afternoon. McGinty, I know that we'll probably do maybe a wee pre-match cover for the Leverkusen game, but in a few brief words, how are you feeling about
that? Not confident at all.
that?
I know we're on a good run. We've played 8 games on the bounce here, without losing any of the games, 7 wins and a draw. And I'm confident. I'm excited where we're going, but this is Bayer Leverkusen we're talking about here. You can't pretend that we're going to get a win out of it or anything. It'd be good if we get a point, get the draw. That would be nice. But I'm not going to be too disheartened if we get beat by them, as long as we don't get embarrassed.
Yeah, well, they did scalp us like 4-0 at Parkhead.
Exactly. So yeah.
Aye. Paddy, I saw a picture of your dinner earlier on. I think it was a garlic naan. Your breath must be fucking honking.
It is, mate, but it's honking a beer, so that's even more substantial. But do you know what? It's also honking a success, because that's what Celtic are the new. Absolute fucking success. Success, dominance, fucking exuberance, charismaticness, anything you want.
Nice
I'm
one.
delighted with Celtic. I really am. I know we weren't exactly as pleasing on the eye tonight, but that was a really hard fought victory tonight, and it was deserved. St Johnston are a hard team to break down, and I thought we were brilliant. Could have been better, obviously, result-wise, but nah. What else can you ask for? That's us through to the
That's
first
it.
final of the season. We're setting the
That's
benchmark.
it.
Fucking bring everybody else on.
Exactly. Well, let's end it there. And Paddy, thank you very much for joining us. That was really kind
Thank you.
of you. Aye, so onwards and upwards. We're through to the final. Thank for that. And the next game is Bayer Leverkusen on Thursday. So we'll be in touch with you guys at some point then. But to the viewers, thank you very much for tuning in. So if you're watching on YouTube, please hit the like button, please hit the subscribe button, please give us a comment as well. It's another episode of us going live, and of course we're on Twitter. Find us there. Find us on YouTube too. And a pleasant night, a hard-fought one, but we're through to the final. Brilliant, and I hope Hibs do us a wee favour tomorrow. That'll be fun. So
Come on, you
McGinty.
boys in green.
Exactly. Right, so from myself, from McGinty, Paddy and the Jungle Gyms, thank you very much and good night.
Hail, hail.
Hail fucking hail.